Welcome back. Now, during the week, the Strauss Co virtual live auction sold a bottle of Grand Constance 1821 wine at 100,000. Well, it's almost a million, hey, including commission, doubling an earlier auction record in April this year. This extremely rare bottle of sweet wine is in fine condition and was owned by the Malan family. The age of the 5 wines collectively add up to 574 years, which captured the imagination of bidders with their incredible history, provenance, and rare collectability. For more on this historic sale, we're joined by Roland Peens, Strauss Co wine auction partner. Roland, good morning. Welcome to Morning Live.
Lebo, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Before I can even go any further, talk to us about this particular wine that was sold this past week at the Strauss Co auction.
Yes, so this was definitely the highlight of the auction. There were only 5 wines, and this particular one, as you will see, is 200 years old this year. So the centenary only comes up every 100 years, and a great time to sell this bottle. It's a sweet wine that was made in Constantia, and this particular vintage was destined for King Emperor Napoleon for St. Anita Island, and he unfortunately passed away in May 1821, so this wine didn't end up going to St. Helena, and we can trace the history through to France and then to England, and it was brought back to South Africa in 1980, and it was sold earlier this week by the Malan family.
There were also 5 wine bottles that were sold as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we put this together with these 5 in front of you. There's a 1800 Joubert Muscat, which is a barrel of Muscat which has been under the Joubert custodianship for 7 generations and is released every couple of years. There's the 2 most famous and most expensive red wines, the GS66 and the Chateau Libertas 57. And then, of course, the Grand Constance 1987, which is the first vintage of it in the modern era. So these are South Africa's rarest wines, and it was incredible to see the prices at the Strauss Co Fine Wine Auction on Tuesday. And really just is kudos to where South Africa is and the great wines that it's made in the past, and perhaps gives you an indication of the future collectability and rareability and prices moving forward.
There's clearly an interest in South Africa for vintage wines. How are we doing in terms of the rest of the world, in terms of our wine collection and buying wines of that nature?
Yes, so it's certainly been a growth industry. We've started from a very small base, and over the last 10 years, we've seen a huge amount of interest in South African wine. It's really booming. The quality, the rareness, the collectability, and these sort of prices really do show where we are today.
Now, you mentioned that the years added up to 574 years old. What does that mean in wine years?
Well, that's just the vintages that they've been around. So we had a 200-year-old Solera, the 200-year-old Grand Constance, and apologies.
Roland, are you still here? All right, I think we have lost Mr. Peens. We're going to try and see if we can get a hold of him, try and re-establish a connection with him. The interesting thing I also wanted to ask him is that do people just buy these wines and then just keep them? Or, you know, there's one that was, he mentioned that was passed on from generation to generation. So when does it stop? Do you just go on and go on with my son, for instance, and his children and his children? Does it never... Nobody ever drinks this wine, or how does it work? And then